All right, it's 2:05, so we'll go ahead and get started. First off, appreciate everybody joining. We're going to cover off on this, e-ticket platform that South Carolina and a lot of other states have been using over the past few years. Obviously, this is year one for South Carolina, so consider this, one of the main, initial trainings on how the platform works. It is a recorded session, and if you have any questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat. What worked really well for our first session last week was after we review the mobile side of the platform and how folks will be using this out on the job site. We'll pause there, get as many, if not all, the questions answered so far, and then the second half of this session will be the web version of the portal that everyone has access to. It all contains the same information, but the website is more for back office, reporting, downloading and viewing the projects at more of a higher level, with a little more detail than you can see, out there in the field. So that's kind of how this will go. We'll also have a Q&A, some time for Q&A and answering questions on the website as well at the very end. And then this is a recorded session. So whenever this is finished and the recording is wrapped up, I will send that out to the central folks. I've been working with Jeremy Uhis and Travis Driggers really closely, but also a broader team as well, that some of those folks are on this call. So, myself and them will be happy to answer any questions on the platform. So everyone should be seeing the HaulHub website, which is e-dot.com. I put this in the chat as well and pinned it, but if you want to go ahead and write that down or bookmark it, if you've never been to this website yet, this is where everyone goes to sign in. Everyone being agency folks, including consultants who are working on the agency's behalf, contractors, and material suppliers. So HaulHub, is a centralized, web-based, completely software-based, and cloud-based platform. And within our platform, we have different instances or portals for different entities. So the agency has their own web and mobile app that they use. The contractors, same thing. Suppliers really just have a web portal. So how we obtain information on material load tickets, or how we get e-tickets into the system, is we have a couple ways of connecting with suppliers and their plants. We have a software connector. It's a read-only script that we work with every supplier to download to their plant loadout system database. And after that's downloaded, then we simply are pulling in the real-time ticket data. So within 5 minutes of them generating a new ticketed load day-to-day on projects, we will see that information, pull it into our system in the format of an e-ticket with all the information that needs to be reflecting for the state's specification requirement. Once we have that data in HaulHub, then that is only available to the material supplier who owns those plants. They are able to permission their customers or the contractors to also see that data. That's a one-time setup where they give them access, and then going forward, every project ticket for that contractor, or what they would consider a customer, will also be in view for them as well. And then when the state has a project kicking off, then the supplier can generate a sample load ticket. And then once they do that, then the job number and the contract information on that sample ticket will be in our system for just the supplier's view and the contractor's view. And then they can essentially permission all tickets under that job number, contract number. I know you guys reference file number, so essentially the same thing. And once they permission that one time, then going forward for that state project, all trucks and material loads that are going to be generated for that contract will also be in view for the agency. So that has to happen before day one when trucks start loading out, in order for everybody to be seeing the data in real time going forward on that job. And that's a one-time deal for each contract. It takes 2 to 3 minutes really for the supplier or the contractor to log into their instance and permission that. So just to give you an idea of what that kind of looks like on the supplier side, this is one of these suppliers in the state, Rogers Group. So all of their project data is flowing in. They have the ability to see all of their tickets individually, but we also have a summary view for them by project name and contract number and project number. So if this project here was a South Carolina DOT job, they generate this sample ticket, and then they're able to just say, okay, our job number, we're going to hit connect. We're going to go to DOT authority. We're going to click on South Carolina. And then we're going to view the list of every single contract that exists right now from AASHTO project, which on a daily, nightly basis refreshes our system with the updated contract numbers, the contract items or pay items that belong to that contract, as well as all of the folks who should have access. So then they just search the matching contract, click it one time, hit connect, and then they're done. Going forward, everyone, all agency inspectors, when they're out there in the field, so long as the plant doesn't go offline or shut down for some reason, we'll see the tickets going forward in real time. So the suppliers can do this. A lot of times I know in the state, and not just South Carolina, but a lot of states, the supplier is also the contractor. But if there's ever a general contractor being, working the project as the prime, and they're not actually the ones also owning the plant and producing the material, then they have a very similar view in their app called Job Slip. So, when I say app, am saying that, but they have a web portal login just like you guys do, and a mobile app. So they would just do the same thing. They see the project whenever that sample load ticket is generated, they hit connect, pick the DOT authority, match it up to the contract that's in the South Carolina DOT portal, and then their job is done for the entirety of that project. So I wanted to show that just to give you guys the context of how does the information get into view for you all on your eDOT Inspector mobile app. So that's what we're going to focus on for the first half here. I'm going to pull up my mobile phone. Let me expand this. And if you haven't yet, you're in your app store. So I use iOS. I have an iPhone. I believe that's what majority of you all have. But regardless, in the Google Play Store or the App Store, whether you have an Android or iOS device that is including tablets, tablets are compatible as well. You just need to search eDOT Inspector. It's this purple app logo. So you download that. Majority of you all, after you download that, in order to sign in, you are going to sign in with SSO. So if you click this button, then it will prompt you to select what state organization you belong to. So this is essentially just going to reflect all the states that currently have SSO integrated with HaulHub. Just select South Carolina and then hit that sign in button. It'll take you to another screen where you'll enter in your SSO verified email, and then you're signed in. For those not, so if you're an external consultant or engineer, maybe you're not set up under the state's SSO program, then you will be able to just enter in your email and enter in a password that you've generated. So email is the primary. We are looking into enabling the mobile number as well for the SSO folks, but don't really need to worry much about that. Just go to sign in with SSO. But if you're not on SSO, then you should be able to enter in a phone number after you log in the first time. And if you want to sign in via that, then you can. But if not, your first time logging in, just enter in your work email with the password that you set up on your invitation. So I'm going to log in here under the South Carolina Live portal. And the first thing that you as a user will be prompted to do just one time is you're going to see whenever you try to select a project, or most of the time it's instantly when you log in, you're going to be prompted to set up an e-signature, which you just draw with your finger one time. This is basically going to stamp this e-signature along with the date and the time, and a printable version of your name whenever you mark a ticket out in the field. The other thing I would recommend is when you first log in, go to account settings and then make sure all of these boxes are checked. These give you some additional live trucking analytics reports and material delivery reports when you're out there in the field on site. And I'll showcase that here in just a bit. So here are, some projects that are actually running today. You're only going to see projects that have began loading out at the plant and that you have been assigned to. So with my access, I am seeing every project that is running currently that the supplier and contractors have calibrated or connected the projects, kind of like we reviewed before I pulled up my mobile app. So if I want to, I'm an inspector, I get out there on site, I'm working this Jasper Pavement Improvement Program project right here. Then I'm going to see that when the first truck loads out at the plant, and then I'm going to tap into it. So for the entirety of my shift as a field inspector or consultant that's doing inspections of the materials being delivered, then this is where I'm pretty much going to sit for the entirety of my shift. You're going to always have a real live update of how many trucks have loaded out at the plant. You're going to see that starting with load 1 here. This is the ticket number that you've always seen on the paper tickets at the top or wherever. This is the unique ticket ID. Here's the load count. Daily total is going to reflect your net tonnage that has been loaded out at the plant. So that is not reflecting what you guys have actually marked as delivered to the job site. So just for some clarification there. Here is the date and the time that this truck loaded out at the plant. You're going to see a status called pending. So every single ticket that we receive from the supplier's plants or their e-ticketing vendor like FleetWatcher, then it's always going to be in pending status in our system until the status gets changed by the inspector out there in the field to delivered or rejected. There is one other status that you might see, and it will say voided. That means that the supplier generated this ticket, and then for some reason they voided it. So maybe they ticketed out under the wrong truck number or the wrong job number or material mix ID. They can void the tickets, and then they might regenerate a new ticket. But we'll always keep everything in view for you here that they've done at the plant. So just kind of a heads up, if you see void, there's nothing really to do with that ticket. But generally, every ticket's in pending until it arrives on site. You mark it as delivered or rejected, which we'll get into here in just a second. This is going to be the name of the hauler. This is going to be the truck number. Here's your net tonnage of this material that is being carried on the truck for this material ticket. So you can see down here, so that's very high level information. Down here, you can see you can add a station and track station across every single load if you want to. You have a notes section that you can tap. This is going to be where you can add and input your field temperature to record that to this digital ticket. You can also add your station here if you want. You can mark waste. So how our waste field works is that to the second decimal, whatever value you put here is going to subtract this from the net tonnage that you mark as delivered. So if this is a 20-ton load and I put 2.00, you don't have to put the decimal, but if I just put 2, then that's going to automatically subtract 2 net tons from that 20 net tons that was showing on the ticket when the truck arrived or when the truck loaded out at the plant. And it's going to factor that out of the material that you would then use and pay for. So there's other field notes here, including a general notes box that you have. that you can come back to and update at any point that you want. I'll put a temperature here just to test and then just hit update. So we've added notes. If we want, we can add a station here. And that's always going to be tracked on this ticket or this load ticket, but you can always go back and adjust. Now, before we receive or mark it delivered and accept the material on this truck, if you want to view more high-level information, you can do that by just tapping into the body of this ticket. So just clicking on the general ticket area, this is what's going to take you to what we call the raw ticket data, or all the fields that should contain information from the contractor and supplier that you guys require per your specification. Feedback is always great, obviously, as this is a new platform being rolled out. If there's certain information you're not seeing, then definitely let myself, Jeremy Ewis, and Travis Driggers know. And we basically just need to go back to the contractor supplier and understand where they're inputting that information, or where Fleet Watcher's inputting it, and make sure that they're providing that to our system to reflect on the e-ticket. So you can minimize this, just click this bar up here. And then there's other sections. So we got the weights. This is going to, at the very least, show your gross, net, and tare tonnage. You might get pounds and metric tons as well if the plant is providing that. You're going to see reconciliation, which we'll get into in just a second. So that is going to be the pay code that you can apply while you mark the loads as delivered in our app, so that you have that kind of summary at the end of your shift across all your shifts for the week, for the month. If you want to, track your pay periods and what you're supposed to actually pay out on per the tonnage across those pay item codes. Then down here, you can see an inspector review where it's constantly going to be updated if I want to update the field temperatures or stationing, but any notes that I've added to this. And then if I'm ready to mark this delivered, then I can just hit this mark delivered button here. So this means I'm accepting this load. I'm going to get a prompt that says ticket 23768 for 20.49 net tons. Are you confirming that you're using all of that material? If I want, I can just hit yes right here. But if you want to proactively apply your pay item code materials to this ticket, then I'm going to click search items on my first load of the day. And then I'm going to go say I want to filter by unit of measure. This is asphalt. I'm going to say filter by tons. And let's just say this is surface type C asphalt. Just for example's sake, I'm going to say, yep, this is the pay item or contract item material that I need to identify for this load being received. And then I'm going to click select pay items down below. I'm going to click use net. And if I want, I can add any notes and hit confirm delivery. So now when I'm in this ticket, then you can see that this is a delivered ticket. We also have the status update here, and then I can expand this and see my e-signature, date and timestamp, along with any notes that I've added. And if I want to go back and make some adjustments or add more detail, then I can click more actions. And then I can hit edit inspector notes here. A couple other things you can do when you are drilled into the ticket, drilled into the raw data format of the ticket, is we have an audit log that whatever you do and whatever anybody ever does, and that's including the supplier and contractor, we track everything that's happened to this digital ticket. So we have our audit log. The external system is when this ticket was created at the plant. Here's when HaulHub received that data. So only a minute. Generally, it should be no more than 5 minutes that we are receiving the information from their plant. Obviously, that's well before a truck would arrive on site. So as an inspector using this, you'll be seeing all of your load, material e-tickets before those trucks arrive. And then everything I've done to this so far is being tracked here. If you want as well, you can take a picture and stamp it on this e-ticket for you and everybody else to reference who has access to the project. So you would just go to Photos and hit Upload Image. And then if it's a picture you already took on your phone, then just hit Select Picture. You don't have to take the picture first outside of the app. You can just click Take a Photo, and this will take you directly to your camera to snap the picture, whether that's of the truck or the material, whatever the case may be. If you want it to be of reference, on this ticket, then just click Take a Photo right then and there. So I'm going to hit this back button to go back to kind of our initial view when you selected your project for the day. And you're going to notice that load 1 is not in my view. That's because we have these what we call chip filters up here. And so we can review those really quick. If you want to, if there's multiple materials being sent to this job site or on this job for the day, then I can click this materials filter. And I'm going to see the list of all those materials. And then if you wanted to select just one of them, you could, and it would sort out all the other e-tickets in your view. Obviously, in this example, there's only one type of material being delivered so far on the day. And then our status is referencing the ticket status, the e-ticket status. So every ticket is in pending unless it's voided at the plant, which doesn't happen very often. But the ticket for load 1, I marked as delivered, so it fell out of my view. The intention there as for our app to only show pending tickets by default is so that you're only seeing the trucks that have yet to arrive or be inspected. But if you like to see all the tickets in your view no matter what, then just click X on the chip filter for status. And whether you reject a load or mark, all the loads delivered, you will see starting at load 1 for the day, those tickets that you can then still, if you need to, take more action on. The dispatch filter isn't really important right now, but will become important here in the near future. This is basically representing a dispatch location. So we've gotten some feedback from one of the field offices that, you guys have resurfacing projects on a given day. The contractor might have 3 different crews or more. And trucks are loading out at the plant, but they're going to 3 different job site locations or roads for that day under the same contract. So obviously, if you're an inspector at one of those sites, then you're going to be seeing all the tickets by default for the contract on that day. But we just need to pull in a value from these contractors to our dispatch field. That way, same as the material filter works, you would actually be able to, at the start of your shift or at any point, view a list of all of the roads that are being worked on this day on your project, and then just select it, and then you're only going to see those ticketed truckloads that are arriving to your specific location. So that's something we're going to work on over the next couple weeks to get in for you all. Again, it's just us working with the contractor to understand where they're putting that identifier in for each site. In the meantime, obviously you have a reference to the truck number. So if that's on the truck and visible, then you'll know that it's, that load ticket. Or, you can, in the meantime, have the truck drivers just call out, hey, what ticket number do you have? Okay. And then confirm with the unique ticket number that comes from their system and is on the paper ticket. So speaking of paper tickets, in every state, we're working with about 40 state agencies. In every state, there's at least one copy of paper that is still being printed from the plants, and that is for the driver at a minimum. There's not a state that has an agreement with law enforcement that we've worked with yet to where the driver doesn't need to have doesn't need to have the copy of the paper bill of lading or delivery ticket in case they get pulled over, etc. Also, just to answer any questions, like the truck drivers are not involved with using any sort of e-ticketing platform or app at this point. Obviously they need to focus on just driving safe and driving effectively. So they will always have and should have a paper copy. So looking at the last chip filter, this came up on our last training. Maybe you want to see the truckloads by the last truck loaded out instead of the first, starting at load 1 throughout the shift. You can just click here and just hit ticketed time new to old. So that'll always keep your last load of the day at the top of your view here. So moving on to load 2, I'm out there and I see this ticket in the app, well before the truck arrives because it's transmitting pretty shortly after they load out at the plant. It arrives on site. I add any station or notes, but for some reason, I'm going to reject this load. Then how you do that is you can just click more actions here and just hit mark rejected. So our platform is going to require you to put a reason that this material is being rejected. So now this ticketed load is rejected. You see that confirmed here, and the net weight of the material for 20.68 tons will be factored in as rejected and not included in your delivered totals for the day on this project. So you can always mark the tickets either on this high level here. If I want to mark this one delivered, you're going to see that, generally, if there's only 1 or 2 materials being delivered on site, after the first load gets a pay item code stamped to it, then it'll be up here for a quick select instead of you having to search every time. But if you also want to select this and mark a part of this load as do not pay, then just click the do not pay button here along with the material, and you can go ahead and allot how much tonnage you're not going to pay for. So maybe of this 18.64 tons, you're not going to pay for 3.64 of that material, even though you're still going to use it. And so you're going to pay for 15 tons or the remainder of that load material. So next, I will start actually moving on to our clipboard reports here. Let me actually back out and refresh here. So throughout your project, you're going to have a total. For the clipboard reports, as you just saw, I just backed out of the project and went back into my project, and it updated with how you are marking the ticket. So you can see here for the total today, there's been 730 net tons loaded out at the plant. 39.13 of those tons have been marked as delivered. 20.68 tons was rejected. There were no tickets that I've added waste to, and then there's still this much tonnage left that's pending. So this will update as you are working and marking the tickets out in the field. If you want to get the most up to date of where you're at, just back out and come back in and refresh. We might be able to look at improving that to where it just refreshes, automatically. But we have a lot of different cool reports here for you to kind of view as you're on your shift, if you would like. So this is the project overview one. There's a little information symbol for each one of our reports that'll summarize what it's trying to relay to you. If I click this button and I go to my delivery report, then this is going to give me my trucking lineup for the day. Every single symbol represents a ticket that it has loaded out at the plant. And then if it's a green check mark, that means that ticketed load was marked as delivered. If it's a red exclamation, it was rejected. And again, if it's just this clock symbol that's kind of grayed out, that means it's still a pending load of material that this truck has hauled. So you can select these symbols, and you'll see at the bottom the material ticket summary card will pop up which then if I wanted to tap on this, it'll take me into the raw ticket view that we were in earlier. Here, you can view the pay item code. If you need to make an adjustment to that pay item code, you can. You can view the raw ticket data, and if you need to take more action, then you can edit the pay code, clear it. You can even, if you mark the wrong ticket as delivered or rejected, you can just reset it back to pending or back to whatever status it needs to be. So this one was already marked delivered. If I actually accidentally marked the wrong ticket delivered, just for example's sake, and I need to put it back at pending, you can do that. Obviously, this is a new platform that is going to be used day to day. So at the start, there might be some growing pains, and that could happen, and that's okay. Again, we track everything in our audit logs, but there's no harm and no reason that you can't go back and adjust a ticket status or add notes, take away notes, edit notes, whatever you need to do. So if I want to go back up here, then I'm going to be back in this view. And every single ticketed load is selectable. We have other reports, which I'm not going to go through every single one, but if you want to see the load time report by truck number, then you can see for every single round that they've done, what time each truck is loaded out. If I want to see the round trip report, then this is going to tell me how fast these trucks are running for each of their rounds. So, you should see, a general average. Obviously, 6 minutes doesn't make sense, so that would be something to maybe note or call out for truck MR201. How did he load out one time and then load out a second time within 6 minutes? That's essentially how we're tracking this one, is our date and time stamp that we capture for every single load. We're just doing the subtraction and telling you how many minutes was in between each load that each truck is picking up at the plant. The highlighted blue means that's the last load that has been loaded out. Oops. So that's essentially how you're going to use this mobile app when it comes to viewing the tickets in your project for the day, how you're marking them delivered. Everything you do on the mobile app is also going to be transparent and transmit over on the web portal side, which everyone has access to. And so there's some other feature tools outside of, accepting and rejecting tickets. So if you look up top here for this project and any project that you're going to be working, you're gonna be able to take samples. If your QC folks, want to track when and where the samples were taken for which material on a job site, for which truckload, then they can do that. As an inspector, whether that's a core sample or maybe you're taking a cylinder sample for concrete, which our platform handles concrete tickets as well, then you can do that just by going to our samples button, hit log first sample. You're going to have a drop down where you select the material. And then you're going to choose a ticket for reference. So this sample was, say, from the last load 36. It's then going to spit out high-level information, so just the ticket number, the supplier, and the product code if we're receiving that. And then if you look at the inspection fields, this is where you can click on this pencil button and say, okay, what kind of sample method is this? What time am I taking this sample? And is there a lot number that I can apply to this? You can hit update. If you want, you can add a photo of the sample. Just click this button, and it's the same as what we were looking at earlier within an individual ticket. Just click take photo if you want to take a picture of the sample. We will stamp the geolocation of your device for your lab folks to reference or anybody to reference. You can set this sample as a normal or high priority, and then we'll automatically default your device and your user account. But if this was sampled by multiple folks, or you want to attach multiple folks' names to this material sample for this load ticket, then you can do that. I'll remove them though, since this is a test. And then if you want to add any notes for the lab, then you can. Hit create. And then as you go throughout your day, you're going to see your lot number, the sample or material ticket number, and then if any of your lab and QC folks have an account, they can track this on the web or the mobile just by clicking. They can go into the project and see all the details that you input around this sample. Next, we have work zone. So if we have a partnership with Waze, but we can also work with any state to pretty much activate a live feed through work zone data so the general public is aware whenever you guys are live and running projects from our platform. It'll communicate in real time to those public forums. So if you want to create a work zone, this is a one-time thing for the project, it's not day-to-day, then you can create your work zone, type in the road, say what kind of work project this will cause. So let's just say it's just a work zone area. We're not going to reroute traffic. Which direction, specify the work zone boundary. So this is going to zero in when you're out there, or just wherever your device is at the time. Obviously, you can expand and go, find the location if you're not out there. And then you are able to actually draw the entire work zone. So you just select your start pin, say the project will start here. Click set. And then you can just follow the outline of the road that you're going to be working. And then hit next whenever you've outlined the entire area that you're going to work, not just for the day, but the entire project. Click finish. And then you can have this motorist notification, which will show in the Waze app or Google Maps or whatever public app it is. And if you click this down button, there's some additional information. So you can give more kind of detail to your crews and everybody. What kind of method are you using to signal the public out there on site? And then is there any impact to lanes? So are any lanes essentially shut down? So you could say some lanes are closed, which again, this detail will transmit through the feed to those public forums for motorists out there on the road. Then you just hit create work zone. So once you create a work zone that doesn't do anything, you have to arm it. Just hit confirm. And so any day that this job is being ticketed from the moment the first truck tickets out under this project, then it's going to be notifying those public forums and the motorists using those forums on the road that there is an active work zone with folks out there at this time. So the photos section up here, this is just going to be general photos that you can apply for the project if you want anyone to reference anything that's going on out there, whether that be good or bad. A lot of the features of our platform are really for your all's dispense on how you want to utilize it. So there's not for a lot of these features up here, this is preferential for each user out there in the field or for any state to decide how maybe they want to use these features consistently. So if you upload a photo here, again, it's the same as we were doing an individual ticket. Maybe it's just a general photo of the project that you want people to reference, or you can take a photo from here and apply it to a single ticket as well. Moving across from left to right, we have our document scanner under documents. So whether it's the material load ticket, if you ever do need to collect it from the driver, or any other sort of documentation out there that you want lab or QC folks or anybody on the construction material side to reference, then just go to this document button, hit add document, and you can scan it as a PDF, which then anyone can reference and download as a PDF as well. So if I click this scan button, then I'm going to hold up whatever document it is out there in the field. It's going to take a minute to scan it. And then once it's done, it'll go down to the left there. Then you could just hit this save button. So it'll take a second. It'll read any headers on your document and automatically apply that to the name of this document. But if you want to adjust the name, then just click rename right here. This is where you can download it as a PDF to your mobile device. But again, you can also do this on the web as well. But if you want to rename the document for people to reference, you can. And then this usually takes a second, but if you just kind of drag down and refresh, then it'll actually have that image that you scanned. And then moving on, we have a yield calculator. So, talking with Jeremy and team, this isn't exactly the method or calculation you guys use for calculating yield, but if you're just curious and want to kind of play with this feature, then you can. Just as you're receiving in asphalt tickets, or it could be concrete tickets, then you're going to see the tickets starting from the first ones on down. So consider it the first tickets to the last from top to bottom. And then say you want to run a test across ticket number 1 that you've received in, you're going to see this prompt that you can expand. You can type in a station, you can put a width. So say you're paving 6 feet wide, 2 inches thick, and then we have a theoretical max density input here for pounds per square yard. Then you can start your test. And then in this case, I've only received in 2 loads. So I'm just going to say I'm going to run a yield test from truck number 1 to the next truck that I received or marked as delivered. And then it's going to save all of your inputs. And all you need to do is just update, your station. And then hit end test. And so obviously my inputs and myself, not being quite as knowledgeable as the interpretation of stations, it's basically going to tell you that, okay, based on your inputs, your starting and ending station, your depth, your width, and theoretical max, here's the actual amount of net tons of material that was used across the 2 truckloads you ran this test on. And here's all you really needed to use. So you used this percentage greater of material than you actually needed per your inputs. So that's kind of how the yield calculator works. Feel free to play around with that. And we are looking into ways that we could adjust the inputs and the formatting to make more sense to appeal to kind of historically how a majority of you all have been calculating that yield. But would be curious to get any other feedback too on not just the yield, but any of these tools, how they could be useful, or maybe some adjustments we can make to make them more useful to you all out there in the field. So moving on to report issues. So if you're out there and you're marking tickets, for example, and you notice that there's a ticket or truck that arrived that no one has accounted for on the mobile app. So for some reason, the ticket is not reflecting, even though you've been seeing the tickets fine all shift long. Then you can hit report issue. Just click this button at the bottom, report a new issue. And then we'll ask you what type of issue is this. There's a lot of different reasons that you might have an issue, but maybe you say not for my job, or tickets are missing, or you're noticing that you're seeing the tickets come through on the app long after like the trucks have arrived on site. So you could say delay, hit select. We're going to auto stamp the project that you're already working. A lot of these quick select drop downs will have it pre-selected as to who the supplier is based on who's already been ticketing this job. Which plane are the tickets coming from on your shift? If the contractor is not the same as the supplier, then it always helps us to input that here. And then if it's just 1 or 2 tickets, if you type in your ticket number, then that always helps, as well as adding in your phone number here for the SSO users, you're going to need to actually add the phone number here. It won't be auto stamped at this time. So that'll always help if you want us to call you. But mainly if we just have all the information, the basic required information, usually that is all we need. It's going to be an issue where myself and our support team will reach out to the contractor and supplier to figure out where the information went or why it's not transmitting. So missing ticket numbers is one that really helps us solve the case much more quickly if you have that. And then you hit submit issue. So your job is done from there, and then our support team will move that issue to acknowledged, to work in progress, to resolved. When it's in each of these buckets, you're able to tap into here and view any notes that our team is putting as to where we're at with resolving the issue. And then next, if for some reason your device had signal, but then you move to an area on the project on a given day or at a given time where you lose signal, you're going to be able to log your tickets digitally without any signal on your device. This will turn red and it'll actually move over to the front in that case. But I'm going to click on that offline mode. You would then, whenever you don't have any signal for your device to actually be able to show you the e-ticket that everybody else would be seeing outside of the job site, then you're able to collect that paper copy from the driver, add in the last 4 digits of that unique ticket number, go ahead and confirm that you're going to mark this delivered. You can add any temperatures. You can add station. You can add any notes digitally. And then you're going to create that ticket. So what that's going to do is while you're offline, you're going to be logging the tickets in the app via that paper copy from the driver. And then they're going to sit in this bucket under this project. And for however many tickets you've been applying here offline. And then as soon as your device at the end of your shift or during the shift comes back into service, then all of the data that you input, the notes and the status of that digital ticket will actually automatically transmit and update at one time based on the last 4 digits of that ticket paper copy. So I'm going to back out of here and highlight that if you're about to work a project that you know from day one is going to be a dead site, then you won't even see a project here when you're out there on your mobile app because you won't have any signal. So then you would do that from, the start of your shift on this project that's going to be a dead zone just by clicking this button, which obviously, won't say online, it'll say offline. And you can click that to get to that exact same screen. And this is just where you would log the tickets digitally, so that at the end of your shift, even though you were having to collect the paper copy from the driver throughout in order to enter, those last 4 digits of that unique ticket number, you won't have to go back and backtrack at all because you will have been inputting it all digitally, and it'll automatically transmit those updates when you come off site and come back into Signal. The other thing you can do without actually being tapped into your project, which again, you're not going to see until the project has been connected by the supplier and there's actually been trucks loading out at the start of the shift, is you click this little plant symbol, this little green plant symbol, and this is going to show you, where you can report an issue if you're not in a dead site, your device does have signal, and the most likely reason is maybe the contractor is using someone like Fleet Watcher and they haven't pushed the project through into HaulHub yet for them to connect, or maybe they have and the contractor just hasn't connected the project like we reviewed towards the start. Then you can go ahead and report a new issue. And every time you do report an issue, it will actually notify a contact at the supplier, but it also, more importantly, notifies our team to go ahead and reach out to the contractor to get them in the groove of, hey, you got to start calibrating this, and also right now you need to connect this project for the inspector to see those tickets going forward. one thing I did not cover yet is if we look up here, whenever you come into our app, you're under a current shift that we consider as today. That's going to show you all net tonnages for all projects that have been loaded out as of 5 a.m. all the way out to 4:59 p.m. this afternoon. If you're working a night job and you get out there on site at say 6 p.m., you're just going to click on this night job shift filter and then wait for trucks to start loading out, and then you'll see your project. So this is going to summarize all the net tonnages and trucks loading out for any project that you have access to and are assigned to after 5 p.m. all the way out to 4:59 a.m. the next morning. And then if you want to search any job, even if it's not running current day and it didn't run yesterday or last night, then just click this idle tab. This means that, every project that has been connected in the portal, but maybe not running within, the current 24-hour period, we consider it an idle project. But here you can search by the contractor name or the plant or the project name. And this is where we track all of the projects for their entirety of their lifespan on the mobile app. If you want to click into one, and then you want to go view a particular date. So you can click into any project you have access to, click this date button, click date down here, and then we're going to give you this calendar view that if there's a strike through on a date, that means it never ran that day. But you'll know that it's a date where you ran because we don't have a strike through, and we actually just summarize how many ticketed loads were loaded out for the job on this day. So if I want to go back and look at the 30th on this job, for example, I'm going to click that, click show January 30th, and then view those ticketed loads for that day. All right, so I'm going to pause right there, and then we can go to some questions. So I'm going to open my chat up. So I'm going to start with, looks like James Miller is the first one I'm seeing. What happens if the plant is knocked offline and unable to provide tickets through the system? Fall back to paper copies. So obviously, Jeremy, I'll let you chime in here as well. But what I'll say first is, yes, if a plant goes offline for any reason, our system won't be obtaining those tickets at that time. So you can fall back. You could fall back to paper copies in that scenario until we get that until the plant comes back online. And when it does come back online, we do bring in all of the tickets at once that had been loaded out so that they're still in the portal, even though while it was offline, you weren't seeing those.
Yeah, and to add to that, Sean, I mean, for right now, these contractors, these truck drivers are going to be, they're probably still driving around with 2 tickets, right? When this gets, I would say, fully implemented, we're looking at summer this year. I believe they will get to just carrying 1 ticket, like Sean mentioned, until there's something with the law enforcement. They are not required to do so. I would suggest, yeah, you're just kind of manually entering that ticket like he showed you, and then whenever their system gets back online, it will play catch up.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. And then this was probably before I got to it, but Josh read it. What happens when we're in an area like the mountains that doesn't have cell service? That's when, for that shift, you would be collecting those paper copies. And then whenever you log in to the app, you'll see this offline. It'll say offline because you wouldn't have signal. And then from here, you would just input the information from that paper copy digitally, which really is just the last 4 digits of that unique ticket, along with the status. If you're going to accept it, you would say delivered. If you're going to reject it, you'd say rejected. but you can add your temperature, station. You can still enter in waste and then any general notes for that load. And then moving on to Elmer Carrillo, will the program reflect truckload tickets that have gotten out of order, or is this something that the inspector will just have to note on the tickets? Yeah, good question. So we basically, the best way to track if a truck is out of order, if we tap in, if you're on your project and you're viewing it, and you obviously see at the start of the day, hey, truck number T1F4 is load 1 of the day, and it loaded out at 9:40 a.m. Eastern, and then load number 2 at 9:44 is truck number T1F2. But if T1F2 shows up before, then obviously, based on the truck number, and if you want to just have the trucker haul out, and confirm if the truck number is not very visible on his truck, hey, are you which ticket number are you delivering? They can call that out. And then you could just note in your notes section that, hey, truck number, or load number 2 showed up first for the day instead of load number 1. But in our clipboard reports as well, if you go to delivery report, then you would be seeing that after you mark that load delivered, that, that was the first load of the day that was marked delivered, because it would turn to green here. But I guess to answer the question in finality, our program doesn't automatically flag or let you know, hey, this truck shouldn't have showed up first, essentially. You would just note that yourself on the ticket. So James Miller had a good question. What happens when night shift runs past 4:59 a.m.? That's a good question. So that can obviously happen. So we do have a custom filter within the Today page that if 5 a.m. hits, essentially, and you still got a truck or two coming, it's probably going to be another 30 minutes to an hour, just for example's sake, then you are able to go to our custom filter up here and say that, I only want to see my tickets from, yesterday at 7 p.m. all the way out to, today if it's 5:30 a.m., then you're going to see 5:30 as an option out on the very end for the current time. But you can adjust your end time range. And then this is telling you, okay, now you're seeing all your loads from this date and time all the way out to however far out you're at currently. Just hit apply, and then it will show you those tickets for each project. So Chris Bird, can you generate a ticket slip that is printable on a single sheet of paper, or even format the slip to print multiple tickets per page? It looks like currently the slips take up 2 pages on the ticket. So yeah, we'll actually showcase that on the web here in just a moment. There's a daily summary, or we call it a delivery report, a daily delivery report. You guys might call it like a daily laydown report, where you'll be able to see all of your ticketed loads, multiple on a given page. Jason Powell, I'm third party. Michael Baker, EDOT Inspector app will not send me a verification code to sign in. So I'm going to note that. Let's put a thumbs up, and we can address that after the training. And then Kenneth Henderson, last question before we switch over to the web. How are the asphalt suppliers separating tickets when 2 or more crews are working on 2 or more roads with the same file number, different pins? So that is a good question, and goes back to, we would have other states that obviously, have jobs, multiple roads they're working on in one day, where the contractor has multiple crews. And it's all summarized under the state contract number. And that summarization is going to reflect, here under one contract. So you would tap into your project, and we don't have this yet, but what will be coming here in the next couple weeks is we just need to find the value that they're inputting at the plant that references each specific site. Sometimes that is a unique site number or location ID. And then we're just going to map it to our dispatch field to where when you get out there, you can see the list of sites. Just select the one, and then you're only seeing the tickets for that site. So it's something that we need to map and find that value that they're inputting at the plant, which they should be putting in a location ID, whether that's just the road name or there's a number for that site. All right, those are really good questions. Again, if you don't even think of the question during this, feel free to reach out to myself directly, sean.miller@haulhub.com, as well as Jeremy Uhas, and we'll make sure that all your questions get answered at any point. Obviously, you might generate new questions once you start using this. So really coming from this training is to encourage you all just to get out there and start using it so you can get used to the flow, as well as generate some other questions that we can help answer. For time's sake, I am going to move over to the website. So let's go ahead and get started there. So again, everything that's happening with these projects, as far as the material e-tickets coming in from the supplier and contractor to everything you guys are marking them, is going to update in real time as you do it on your mobile device, also on the web. So when you log in on the web, again, you'll go to edot.com. You'll click sign in. And then you're going to click this EDOT agency button here. And then it's going to, let me log out, because once you log in and if you have your web browser save your information, it'll kind of help you bypass it unless you're using SSO. But for most of you folks, you're going to click this sign in with SSO button. And again, this all comes from our e-dot website. And then you just click sign in and walk through the prompts so you get here. And then you'll get signed in, which once you do, then you're going to come to this view here. So this is going to show you all of your projects, summarized at a high level that you have access to and that you're working, whether that's live on site or, maybe you have access to a group of projects in the back office, you're an estimator, etc. So you can see, you can find your project that if there's a lot of projects you have access to, you can always just search the file number. Oh. This happens when I have multiple pages of myself logged in, so you shouldn't run into that issue. So we're going to get back here to the projects page. You're going to search your file number. And then you're going to see here, this project last loaded out or ticketed out 24 days ago. We give you the date and time stamp. We will let you know the file number, the name of the project, and this project has only been active for 2 days. So active days just means we've only seen tickets load out across 2 days for this job. If you want to see a list of all 34 folks that have access to this, then you can click this little box and it'll pop out a list for you. If there's multiple suppliers that have supplied material, you'll see that here. And then if you want to see a list of the materials that have been loaded out for this job, then you can see that here. You'll notice we have some status boxes for tickets. If it was a flag ticket in the app, which I didn't really cover, but when you go to more action, say where you would reject a load, there's also an option to flag a ticket if you just want to add a general note to that. We have all your rejected tickets bucketed here, all your voided tickets here, and then all your delivered tickets here. And if you just want to see every ticket based on date and time stamp, then you can just click this button here. But the most common thing to do is just tapping into the project in general. So I'm just going to click on the body of this project. And this is where I'm really going to exercise and get the value from the website. So throughout the job, we're going to be collecting all the tickets here based on status. You're going to see like your file number, your contract number up here. You can also look at kind of what I was just covering off on. If I want to see a list of all the team members, I can do that here. If I want to view a map of where all the tickets have been delivered, I can do that here. We'll get into that in just a second. And then all the photos, and if any work zones are armed, you can view that here. So the map, if you click this, it's actually going to take you to the site where all the tickets have been marked by the device of every inspector so far on the project. So this is, a project that's ran 2 days. All 63 tickets have been marked delivered by the inspector. You can click on the ticket and it'll give you a summary. And if I want to click on the right, it'll take me to that ticket number 101355, which was load 20 on the day, which I can then select one more time. And this is where I can view all of the ticket information that, you might have viewed on your mobile app or that is coming from the supplier and contractor. Here's where we show you the weights that we're getting on this ticketed load, as well as if this had been pay coded. So this was a test by me, but this is where you would see that, hey, all 20.68 net tons were applied to this pay item code and description. Down here, we can see that, the actual inspector that worked this project, Martin Richardson, added a temperature here, and then here's where I had added some notes for a demo, or for this demo. But here's the audit log that reflects everything that had happened to this ticket since it was generated at the plant on the 16th of January. So if I want to download the slip individually, I can do that here. There's a lot of places you can. And to one of the questions, we'll kind of show you what that looks like when you download a slip or a group of slips, as a PDF document. Sometimes it can bleed into 2 pages for the one ticket, and that's because of the notes section. So here's kind of how we have it formatted. The PDF, the raw ticket data, your weight, the pay item that was applied to this. And then down here, you can see we have your inspector review with notes, and it looks like there's no information, but I think with PDFs, they have limited kind of room to work with. So we need to just maybe see if we can dumb this down a little bit to bring this page down to the bottom, and then that'll be 1 ticket per download if you download the tickets that way. So at a high level, you can filter. If you just want to see tickets that had notes applied to them, then I can click on the notes filter. If I want to see only the tickets that had temperatures recorded on them, then I can just click on the temp one and then click on those tickets and view them. And then obviously, other feature sets like work zones or connected equipment in the future. If South Carolina wants to utilize that, you'll see the drawn out work zones and you'll be able to reference any equipment that's connected and being used, such as pavers or rollers, etc. So that's the map. If you want to view all of your tickets in your own custom way as a user, then you have that ability. So let me back out really quick. So once you're tapped into your project on the web, then you are going to see, hey, I want to see all of my delivered tickets so far. Or maybe it's I want to view the voided ones, but let's just say delivered for this instance. And I'm going to see from the last ticket loaded out on this job, this is a bunch of columns of the data that we receive from the supplier and contractor. I can organize those columns however I want for my own personal user account. So every value from the ticket or ticketed field, I can drag from the hidden side to the visible side, and then however I order that from top to bottom will be the same order from left to right. You can do some things here, like if you want to just filter on, a range of tickets. So I want to see tickets on the 16th only, then just click the 16th. And then I'm only going to see those tickets. I could select all, download slips as a CSV, which is Excel, or PDF. So if I do PDF, it's going to be for all tickets on this day, it's going to be the same view as we were just looking at, how I downloaded an individual ticket. It'll be one PDF file, but it might be, if it was 16 tickets, 32 pages within that one PDF file. If I do an Excel, then it's just going to be very quick and easy, and it's just going to be every single ticket I select. With the fields that I have in view from left to right. So another thing with this kind of ticket view, we call it like a flex grid view, that you just have to set one time and then it'll stick. Every time you log in and out day to day, it'll have the same setup. But maybe by default, when I go view tickets, whether that's all my delivered tickets or pending or rejected, I want to see them grouped by date. So I'm just going to click and drag the column header up here by date. And then you can easily see, hey, there were 32 tickets on the 17th. I want to select all of those tickets and download them. Or if you even want to, you can assign pay codes on the web. So maybe you don't feel like proactively assigning the pay codes after you hit confirm delivered on the mobile app. I could say after my shift, go to the 17th, select all tickets, click this quick assign button, find my pay code, say this was your hot mix asphalt surface A, and then say confirm. You're going to apply this pay item code to all the tonnage across all of these tickets. If you want, you can add a note, but then I'm going to hit confirm, and then that just pay coded every single ticket for that shift. If you want to see things by date and by product description, you can do that. So I can put up product description here, and then I've added two columns that are grouped. So first I'm going to see the summary by date. Then I'm going to see the summary by product description if there were multiple that day. And then I'll be able to see those tickets here. And if I want to adjust this and say I want to see things by product description first, then I would see a summary of all the ticketed loads by product description, expand that, then it would show me by date, and then you could expand it that way. So it's really almost every single column in your view, you can drag and drop up here at the top, and then just drag and drop left to right, whatever instance you want to see it in. So as you're working your project, you might not want to manually go to the tickets and download them. So we have these reports over here. We have 3 different reports, but the delivery report is the one I was referencing earlier. It's a PDF, and it's a summary of the day of the shift that you can set up to deliver to your email automatically the following day from a night or day shift. So if I hit create report, then you can click auto send, and you can designate the time that your email is going to receive a summary report of all of your prior shifts, loads and materials that were delivered on site or rejected or marked as waste. And then this is going to say that by default, we have it saying that the shift that you're trying to summarize, whether that was yesterday or night, we're going to capture all of the loads from 4:50 a.m. to 4:49 a.m., which is essentially a 24-hour period. But if it's a night shift job, you want to set this to say start time for every shift will be at least 5 p.m. and the end time will be at least 5:45 a.m. or 6 a.m. Then you can do that for this project. This is a one-time setup. And then everyone who has access, if they want to add their email here, means that they'll receive a summary report like we're about to view for this project if it ran the prior day or night. If it doesn't run, you don't receive any emails. So if you want to view this report, then you just click manual. This is the on-demand way to get this instead of the automatic way. So maybe you lost, in your email whenever it delivered for you on a past day. So you just want to get it again. Just go back to the day you're trying to track that this project ran. Click OK, and then you don't have to add your email here. You can just hit download. So then you're going to see that report here. And then you're going to see, the summary for that day. So this is going to show you the file number, the name. It's summarizing the date or days in a time range that that's trying to capture all the loads that were loaded out from the contractor and supplier. Here's your mix description with your mix ID. There were 32 total loads for 668.32 net tons marked as delivered. Nothing was left in pending, nothing was marked as rejected, and no tickets had waste added to them. And then all of the tonnage for that pay item description, pay code would reflect here. So if you did mark do not pay for any tickets, then that would also reflect, do not pay and for however much quantity. And then as we scroll down, here's where you get the list of multiple loads under one file, one PDF file. So you'll have a column showing supplier, your ticket number, the time they ticketed out at the plant, truck number, your load number, description, primary pay code if there was one selected for that, and then your gross, tear, and then the number you see here is your net tonnage that was marked as delivered. So you got your gross and your tear, and then this is your net tonnage that shows under agency. That's the inspector marking this via this status, the green check mark, that kind of spells it out up here. If there was any waste marked on a ticket, then you would also see this little blue waste symbol next to the quantity of net tonnage, because you would have marked the ticket delivered, but also took off 2 tons, just for example's sake, if there was waste applied to that. The timestamp reflecting over here is the time that you actually marked that ticket as delivered or rejected. So this is multiple pages, but this is going to summarize all of your loads just across a few pages, depending on how many actual loads occurred on that given day that I'm generating this daily delivery report. So another report we have is our finals report. This is going to allow you to, view. This is an Excel report that if an estimator wants to view the total summary of delivered tickets and tonnage across the materials, they can designate a time range. So if they want to say the whole month of January, they could select January 1 here, and then they could select January 31st here. And what that looks like is, let me pull up an example from a project. So this would be for this project for January. Again, the project's only ran for 2 days, but you can see here, this gives them a start date, an end date and time, along with the file number or contract number as our system identifies it as. And then starting with load 1, every single ticket that was marked as delivered by whomever it was marked delivered by, with the total load count and total quantity up here. This isn't an automatic one that you can set to automatically deliver, but it is one that, any estimator, anyone in the back office that wants to get a final summary of all the delivered materials can go and just create and just generate one time here. If you want to make sure the report only shows the delivered totals and tonnages, just check this button here. Otherwise, you'll still get tickets that were in rejected or voided status, but we call out the status of the ticket in the report if this isn't selected. So then you could obviously filter in Excel on the delivered status tickets, but if from the get-go, if you don't want to do that, just check this button. And then one of the other reports that is a manual download and is Excel based is our reconciliation report. So this is going to download, all of your tickets by pay item code and description. So you could click by pay period, or if you just want to designate a given day. But every project starts out with pay period 1 until that period's closed out in the system. So if I want to download a report and have all the tickets included line by line and, by pay item code and description for the tonnage summary, then that report looks like this right here. So you're going to have the date the report ran. Here's the agency, your project name. This is pay period 1, which started on January 16th and is still in progress because no one in this project has closed out pay period 1. So here's the line item number, the item code, the item description, Here was the estimated quantity that was imported from AASHTO project for this pay item code under this unit of measure. Total to date, there's been 1,189.04 tons marked on this pay item code. So that leaves a balance to finish of 5,312.96 based on the estimated quantity that was imported into the system from AASHTO. There's another tab on this Excel sheet here. So this is where you see all of your ticket numbers and pay item codes per each ticket, starting with load 1. And then one thing that's kind of cool that is more of a kind of more recent feature, but we're building in AI reports that as you guys use, the system and, you're marking tickets out there in the field, that we're automatically just spitting out based on the ticket data and whatever you guys are inputting on those tickets. We're spitting out some reports. So you can click show more here. And there's a number of reports. So this is like notes and pay codes. So if there were any notes and pay items applied to a ticket, you would just see that listed out here. Might not be valuable to everyone. Here's a summary, kind of like we were looking at. This would be for a given day. So this was just on the 16th that this is, reflecting. And then here's like a hot mix asphalt air temperature report. And it basically will let you know that on January 16th, the weather was clear, no precipitation recorded for the day. Here's the high and low of the temperature. And then the contractor started shipping asphalt at 10:10 a.m. The last load was at 4:18. There were a total of 31 loads for a total quantity of 645.84 tons delivered. Based on any tickets that were marked temperatures by the inspector, the average temp was 273.5. While the average air temperature was 49.6. And then average delivery time between load was 13 minutes. So the reason why we're able to capture this is because we're geo-stamping every time an inspector marks a ticket out there on site, which also allows us to pull in what the weather was from the weather apps as well, based on that geolocation. So that's kind of how that's all being captured in that example, at least. And then we just have like a summary report. So any ideas you guys get while using this, that, hey, what if we had a report that kind of spelled out this, or, I like the asphalt summary report, but maybe could we add this other piece of information in there for you guys to just copy and maybe slap in a submission, report that you guys use internally? Feel free to run that by me or, Jeremy, US and team, and we can always look at incorporating that. So kind of last but not least, before we get to questions, here's where you have your summarized pay periods. Folks are able to, after all the items have been coded over a certain range of time, you can close a pay period. That would end pay period 1, and that would be a summarization of that pay period, and then it would automatically start pay period 2. But you can view all the tickets that have been pay coded, and if you still need to, you can see here I had 2 uncoded tickets. If I want to view those tickets, select them and quick assign a pay code, or if I wanted to select one in particular and hit split a ticket, then I can do that, and that would let me split the ticket across 2 different pay item codes. So if we're paying out this under like 2 different type Bs, pay item code 0330 and 0340, then I could click both of those. Hit select, and then I would just say, okay, we need to apply 10 tons to this pay item code, and the other one we need to apply 10.81 tons, and then just hit confirm. And that's how you would actually split 1 truckload across 2 different pay items. And then just scrolling on further down gives you the summary of, all of the loads across each material, along with the map that we were looking at that you can kind of click up here as well, and it'll take you to. So that's, I think, majority of, the web. If you do scan any documents out there on site, then you're going to see those documents here. Just kind of like touch on that really quick. But with that being said, I know we're running on time, so I'm going to go ahead and see what questions have popped up. So I just see one question. This is a good one, James Miller. When we put in the pay item code, does it also input it into ASHTOWare? So as it stands right now, you all and several other states are importing in for contract information from ASHTOWare into our system. That way, there's no one, no admin users like Jeremy and the central office folks who are manually, after each month's lettings, inputting the contract information manually and making sure all the inspectors are assigned, et cetera. So that is automatic integration, one way feeding our system. Where we're going to get to, and something I'll keep the team updated on, is either this season or next season, we are going to have it to where our system will also spit back out the pay item codes and the delivered materials information, the tonnages and all that stuff back into ASHTOWare. So that hasn't happened yet, but that is the goal for not just South Carolina, but any state that uses ASHTOWare project. Jeremy, do you have anything to add to that?
I did. I was just going to mention, I know that functionality is coming. I'd rather everyone for right now, y'all just be focused on using the app, using the web, just for the sake of accepting tickets at this point. To Sean's point, we're definitely, it's coming. It's going to be to a point where, everything can get paid right here out of HaulHub, and it gets tied back into AWP.
Yeah, so every state is trying to get consistent with using this. The good thing is as you input information into this and mark things in a timely manner out there on site, you can't lose track of it like you can a piece of paper. The time spent searching for information from not just inspectors, but estimators, back office folks, like they all have access to this too, or should have access, and they can go check in on their own projects in real time as inspectors are marking this. They can download the reports just like we were showing. This is meant to get everyone pushing towards the digitization of construction, which just means real-time tracking of their performance and the materials being accepted and utilized across your projects, and thus no one having to wait for others to hand them information where it makes sense, right? Like everyone can access this stuff centrally in one-stop shop, and then the next phase for any state is, okay, how do we start adjusting internally how we submit the documentation going forward, this, that, and the other. But to Jeremy's point, you got to start. Everyone has to be using the platform first before those next steps can happen. But very good question though about spinning this back into ASHTOWare, because the possibilities really are endless once everyone is on board with using this for every state. All right, I'll give it kind of one more go. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in. If not, reach out to me, and I'll send this recording out for this session to Jeremy and team for them to have. And if they want to, blast that out, or I might be able to as well to everybody, then I'll definitely be sure to do that. And yeah, I think the last thing I would let everybody know is that everything we covered in this call can also be accessible under our EDOT website. Just go to HaulHub University. Once you get here, then you are going to click agencies. And then if you register your email one time, it's no cost, then you're going to have a breakdown of 1 to 2 to maybe 3 minute videos on how to do certain things that I've covered off on versus having to go back to this recording and, zooming through and figuring out where I touched on a specific feature. Like offline mode, we had a couple questions on. So if you want to see a video of offline mode and how it works, then we have that available for you on demand. You just got to register your email one time at haulhubuniversity.com, or I should say learn.haulhub.com, but you can get there by just going to e-dot and then just click here, and that's how you can have access to shortened videos for each feature individually. Appreciate y'all's time. Y'all enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and look forward to working with you guys going forward.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep, no problem. Appreciate y'all.